Have you ever wondered what true horror is? Horror so powerful that it sticks with you long after you've witnessed it, long after you stared deep into its gaping maw. And in that time that it sticks with you, you start to question the very nature of our species, about whether we're alone, whether we want to be alone, and whether or not we should be. It's horror that doesn't come around very often these days, unfortunately, which is why I'm glad that we at least still have The Thing to look to. Released in 1982, the film tackles horror in a way that's unseen or unheard of in recent memory, utilizing not only horribly off-putting acts of violence and gore, but supplanting those images with psychological fear present within each one of us, of isolation, assimilation, disease, identity. Now, as is usually the point of the show, I could sit here and tell you what The Thing represents in and of itself, but that's kind of hard to do because it's not meant to encapsulate any one idea or fear. Much like the creature in question, The Thing's meaning is shapeless. You can try to attach any manner of interpretation to it, whether it be of the AIDS scare, counterculture fighting against a mass hive-minded society, the abject fear between the sexes. It's all applicable, and at the same time, none of it is. John Carpenter himself has commented on the application of theme and meaning to the creature, stating that its very transformation and amorphous quality leaves it open to fit a variety of interpretations, and maybe that's one of the reasons that the film works so well. It's not any one thing, it's a host of paranoias, of deeply entrenched fears that plague the human mind. Are we alone? Do we want to be alone? What if there is more out there? And if so, what does that mean for us? At the heart of it, The Thing is a film adaptation of a short story by John W. Campbell Jr., entitled Who Goes There?, where a group of researchers isolated within the harsh landscape of Antarctica come under siege from an alien being, one that can devour and imitate living beings to perfection. The crew lives in constant fear of one another, their suspicions raising as to who is human and who is a thing. The story was later adapted in 1951 as The Thing from Another World, though it takes on a loose adaptation of the source material, replacing the almost shapeless creature with a single physical body, one that resembles Frankenstein's monster in nature and could appeal to the science fiction genre at the time, that being man versus beast in the most tangible form. Switching gears to create something a little more faithful to the novel, horror icon John Carpenter was signed on to direct The Thing, seeking to capitalize on the sense of paranoia and isolation prevalent within the original framework of Who Goes There. One of the things that was decided upon was that the creature would have no set form. It wouldn't simply be a guy in a suit, it would be an exploration of gore and blood as the production team crafted a monster that used the human body as a canvas. There's nothing specific to define the creature with, no set picture or form that anyone could immediately find comfort in. Familiarity would breed comfort in knowing what to expect. So instead, each appearance of a thing is something new. It's something violent with spasms of blood, limbs, organs, teeth, and tentacles, all interspersed together with human anatomy to create some horrible perversion of the human shape. Instead of fostering familiarity, The Thing opts a different approach, to take what we find familiar and twist it into something horrible. The one thing that we can find some form of comfort in a movie of this caliber is ripped from us. What we once found solace in, we now grow weary and suspicious of, mirroring the sentiments of the American research team as they soon begin to question who is human and who is fake. Such feelings are at the heart of The Thing, and it's what makes it so gripping, because whereas with other movies like Alien, there's some sort of comfort that comes with being together. If you go off alone, you're dead. That's just the general rule. Both of these films still share a commonality in the isolated landscape, one in the deep vacuum of space, and the other in the snow-covered wastelands of Antarctica. But the difference here is that on one hand, there's a clearly defined monster in the xenomorph, graceful, deadly, but a distinct visual that separates it from the human characters that it hunts. The Thing is different, in that it relies solely on the trust that comes from staying in groups to its advantage. These characters can no longer rely on the company of each other to combat this threat, because it's a threat that hides among them. Any one of them can be a thing. Any of them can be infected at any point in time, and there's no one to trust. It's another point in why this film works so well. It plays with the audience expectation for a monster and the overall expectations of where relative safety is. The isolation of the icy tundra leaves the group in a state of fragility, mostly in the sense that they have to combat this thing on their own, but also in the fact that if the creature leaves this isolation, the entire planet is doomed. Unable to trust the outside world and unable to trust each other, each member of the crew is essentially on their own. And maybe not even then, because one has to wonder if you'd even know that you were a thing if you were assimilated.
It isn't Benning!
All of this comes together beautifully in both the sets and the sound work of the film, with narrow, dimly lit rooms that create a sense of claustrophobia contrasting with the ever-wide and ever-desolate landscape of the Arctic. In either case you feel helpless, where in one you're left with the inescapable feeling that someone in the room could turn at any moment, and then on the other with the cold reality that there's no one to help against this extraterrestrial threat. Couple on top of this the beautiful score of the film that creates a sense of pressing dread, always serving as a reminder of the danger that lies under the skin. The movie revels in the quiet moments, in those spaces between the action where the crew members are left to grow increasingly uneasy as to who could possibly be the thing, where the audience is left to worry the same, and before you know it, the sound takes a sharp turn as an explosion of viscera litters our vision and completely surprises or confirms our deepest fear. Outside of the incredible set design and sound of this film, it really shines in its practical effects, which are all thanks to Rob Bottin, a legend in the film industry for his fantastic hand and designs on several films like Fight Club, RoboCop, Seven, and many more. Working day in and day out on the film, Bottin's expertise produced numerous designs and set pieces to introduce the Thing to the audience, each one unique and ultimately terrifying in their own right. Scowling faces filled with fangs, horrible mouths and stomachs, and heads that scuttle about on spider-like legs, each one simply serves to push the envelope even further and create something that defies the human shape. Each portrayed in sickening, glistening detail, each encounter with the alien serves only to push the fear of assimilation that much farther, creating this intense fear of becoming something that defies the human shape, of becoming something decidedly inhuman. I think what probably makes it so incredibly engaging as a film, though, mostly comes down to its progression and characters. There's 12 different personalities at play within the movie, each one wildly unique and with a significant role to play in the film created by the Thing. Each person isn't overly defined, but their base personalities and instincts come through within the first few minutes of the movie, and this creates a dynamic between everyone that becomes all the more tense once we start to learn that people we've been following may not be who they say they are.
An hour there, an hour back?
Shit, Doc, I'll give you the lift.
No problem.
Forget it, Palmer.
Hey, thanks for thinking about it, though.
Characters have history with each other, they have their own bonds, and they all have some sort of different method to tackle the problem at large. Pretty soon this clash of ideas comes to a head throughout the film, to where not only are they fighting an extraterrestrial threat, but they're fighting each other all the way through. As we continue forward, we learn about the creature as they do, discovering the ship and setting the whole scenario into play once they do an autopsy on the husk of something in the middle of assimilation. The Norwegian researcher they killed at the beginning of the film leaves behind a tale of horror and devastation, as once they go and poke around the Norwegian base, they find bodies and monstrous deformations of humans twisted into ungodly shapes, and we're left with the realization that this fate could befall our American team. It's a grim reminder of the danger that the Thing poses, as even when we learn about what it does, we can't hope to understand exactly what its motives are. It assimilates, it replicates, and it continues this process at an alarming rate, spelling out certain doom for the entire world unless it can be stopped. The grim fate of the world plays at the heart of the Thing, something so truly beyond human capability that we might not even know that it's taken over the planet until it's far too late. That's what drives the Thing. Isolation, suspicion, and certain doom. The final scenes of the film are a testament to that logic, and it's ultimately what makes this film stick in your mind. Humanity's fate is uncertain, but in the wake of the Thing, it can never be the same. A creature that hides within us, becomes us, and then deforms us. One of our greatest fears is the idea of becoming something other than human, because we value so much what makes us who we are as a species. The idea of being alone isn't what's terrifying. It's the thought that there's something out there, some inexplicable thing that can make you not you. Something greater than you, in fact, and something that wishes to become you. As the tagline for the movie says, man is the warmest place to hide. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to check out our other original content here at the Hybrid Network, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates and discussions as they come out. This is Luke, and we'll catch you all next time on Behind the Screens.